What's more important, the journey or the destination? Actually, it's the company. Journey to Well, the podcast, was birthed with the intention to cultivate relationships. You can expect a plethora of conversations on nervous system regulation, breathwork, human design and astrology, cycle alignment, energy and spirituality, and honestly, so much more. But the heart of this community is to witness the journey back home to ourselves, rediscovering our innate power within. I couldn't be more honored to take this journey with you. Be well, my friend, and enjoy today's episode. What is up, my party people? Listen, I almost just said, yo, I have not recorded a solo podcast episode in I don't even want to know how long. It's been months. It's been a wild journey the past few months. And I could not be more excited to be here with you today. Yes, you listening, you exactly. You're here for a reason. Whether you know me or you don't know me, whether you are looking for some inspiration to just get started, or you're looking for a little astrology conversation on Aries season that we're in right now and starting the new astrological year. We are also in a 1 year, so we're going to talk a little bit about numerology today. And mostly for me, this podcast episode is to celebrate the end of season 2 on Journey to Well, the podcast. We are starting a brand new season, and there are a lot of up levels coming in this community, and I couldn't express my gratitude more deeply than simply by saying thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being a part of this community and all of the beautiful conversations that we have in DMs on Instagram. And thank you for listening to these conversations. Journey to Well truly was created. I was actually having this conversation literally yesterday, and I love the synchronicity of timing here. Somebody just learned about my podcast and they asked, why did you start this podcast? What brought you to podcasting? Give me your story. And I've not shared this story publicly on the podcast. So let's start there. And then we'll talk a little bit about astrology, then a little about numerology, a lot about starting before you're ready, peppered into this whole conversation. And then we'll end with updates on Journey to Well, the podcast. So my podcast was founded actually as a YouTube channel. So if you want a good chuckle, head over to Journey to Well on YouTube and you can scroll back. Gosh, it must be like at least 4 years now since I started that channel. And I really started sharing a lot of mindset work, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, manifestation. I also started sharing a lot of self-care, skincare, tips, routines, a little bit of vlogging, sorry. I am not a vlogger. So those are funny videos, but I really started that channel because I felt that I had a purpose and a reason for being born in the family that I was born into. I grew up, I always joke when I'm on other podcasts, I always say I grew up holistic before that was a buzzword or the cool thing to do. My mom she has her undergraduate degree in nutrition, her master's degree in counseling. She is a yoga teacher, Reiki master. She was a guidance counselor. She went to massage school for a while. She is definitely a lifelong learner. She is a 5-1 in human design. So that one line being the data person, the investigator, really wanting to learn. I think all 1 lines are lifelong learners. So I grew up knowing so much about how to function well in society. I grew up learning how to read a nutrition label, how to manage my money, how to do laundry, how to cook, how to have a healthy conversation, what healthy communication looked like. And that is not to say that she was perfect or my life was perfect in any way, shape, or form. But I did grow up having an introduction to a lot of tools that other people, I realized once I went to college, other people did not have access to. And that was such a blessing. And it also placed this desire on my heart to share my knowledge. If I could be the podcast episode that you listen to that introduced you to this new healing tool, this new perspective, this new somatic tool, this new idea, this invitation that ends up changing the trajectory of your life for the better. I want to be that person, even if that is just helping one person. And that's truly where Journey to Well was founded as a YouTube channel. And then I found, after making a bunch of solo videos and doing all of the video editing, and I've always done everything myself, editing wise, back end wise. And after a while, I would say about a year or so doing that, I started bringing other guests on the channel. And that's really where the podcast was birthed, was you sharing your beautiful insights, telling me to start a podcast, and have these conversations. And now, obviously, if you've followed the podcast for a while, you know that I have conversations with experts in their field about tools, ideas, invitations, about things, information that is not wildly openly discussed. My favorite things to talk about are grief and sex in the same conversation, or different, mostly different conversations. But my passion is really to talk about things that we don't talk about often, that either are surrounded with a lot of stereotypes or are steered away from because I don't know, because it's hard to talk about. It's not easy to talk about grief. It's uncomfortable to talk about sex. But the more, again, this is my one line coming out, but the more that we learn about these topics, the more that we can grow and be more open to discuss them. Even on the topic of sex, this is a little bit of a squirrel, but even on that conversation topic, like I remember being in my second really serious relationship and being really closed off and uncomfortable talking to my partner about sex. And it was a point of contention that we had in the beginning of, like, we both had different ideas of what the female orgasm looked like and what that should entail and how it should come about. And there was a lot of guilt and expectations that I placed on myself, not that he even placed on me, but that I placed on myself about what sex should and should not look like, and intimacy and all of those things. And so as I have really researched and taken courses and learned more about not just the female anatomy and the male anatomy, but how we relate to each other and the differences and the similarities, and how we have so many differences as from female to female, it's been very freeing to allow me to explore my sexuality, to explore passion, to explore intimacy and being turned on in different ways. So that's just a really small example and a little bit of a squirrel, but those are the conversations that I love having, because when we have the information, then we have this invitation to say, okay, now what do I want to do with it? If you don't know, one, you don't really know what you don't know. And if you don't know, then you can't move forward and make a different choice. If we don't know a different choice, we can't make a different choice. So even conversations that I've had this past season on pain and healing our physical body, our emotional body, trauma. I've had some really great conversations about like hypnosis therapy, and sex therapy, obviously, and healers like acupuncturists, Chinese medicine. I've had some really great conversations about like our cycle. Dr. Nicole, she was incredible. So to have these conversations opens up a whole new world of possibility. And that's really the heart that I am coming to you with. And this has always been a wild journey. Like, speaking of starting before you're ready, the biggest part of my YouTube channel journey was I wanted to start a YouTube channel for a year. And this is coming from someone, if you don't know me, and especially if you know human design a little bit, manifesting generators, we have this incredible gift to collapse timelines. So when you decide, when you're aligned and you follow your response, because our strategy as a manifesting generator is to respond. So you get something that if you're a sacral manifesting generator like myself, you get that sacral yes, and then you respond to it. You have this gift really to collapse the timeline of things happening. And when you are in alignment and you're following your strategy and your decision-making process, your authority, then you can make wild, wild things happen. And so I knew that I was supposed to start a YouTube channel, but it's your head and your ego, your mind and your ego that often get in the way. And I'll just speak for myself. That's what happened for me. I was so afraid. I didn't know how to do it. I had no idea of like, should I get a camera? Should I get a microphone? Should I have a certain backdrop? How do you do editing? What am I going to talk about? And little by little, I built up that confidence and knowledge. Again, that one line coming in, the knowledge. And then I had this moment. I was at the gym and I think I was talking to somebody at the gym, and they must have said something about like starting before you're ready. Yeah, but it's never going to be good. Like you're not going to start as a professional. You're not going to start great, and you have to start before you're ready. And in that moment, I had something click in my mind. And from there, I was like, yep, we're doing it. We're just sending it, because it's not going to be I'm not going to be great on camera. I'm not going to be great at editing. And please go back and watch the OG YouTube videos. They are hilarious. I literally would write out my entire script of what I wanted to say, and I would post it, like tape it right behind my camera. And you can actually see when I would read the sentence, then look at the camera, say the sentence, then read the sentence, look at the camera, say the sentence. And I had to edit out all of the times that I looked away. So it would take me over an hour to edit a 30-minute or even 15-minute video. And I was so awkward. And the editing was also questionably hilarious. And slowly but surely, I got better. The editing, I don't know. I mean, the editing did get better, but it never got more fun to me. But I did get better. And now, fast forward, I have no notes for this podcast. I sometimes still do write notes, but I have no notes. I don't have anything written, like I literally just sat down. I actually had quite a busy morning, and I have about an hour break right now. And I was like, I have an hour break, time to record a solo podcast episode. Like, didn't put on any makeup, whatever. Like, this is growth, right? And I could not be here now if I didn't start at zero. And we often see people at some sort of, I want to say plateau, not a plateau, but some sort of like stair that's above where we are. And that's why we listen to these people. That's why we admire these people. We're inspired by these people, because they're somewhere where we are not. Not saying that you want to start a podcast. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But whatever it is that you look up to, right? You look up to your favorite fitness person because they are further along in their fitness journey. They know more than you. That's why we have people that we look up to. That's why we follow people sometimes on Instagram, not all the time, but especially the people that we admire tend to be somewhere where we are not. And that tends to be a little bit further along down the road. But what we forget is that we have to climb each and every step. You can't get to your ideal fitness routine without climbing every step. You can't get to be a seasoned podcaster without the seasoning, baby. And that's my inspiration, hopefully, for you today. And it's such a simple message, and I don't really have the profoundness of the words or the eloquentness of the message, but this is your very gentle and simple reminder that there is something in your life that you haven't tackled, you haven't even attempted because maybe your ego's in the way, maybe you're overthinking it. But if you have that desire in your heart, it's there for a reason. And I invite you, I want you to honor that. You don't have to be perfect. First of all, we're never going to be perfect. Second of all, you won't be perfect when you start. So take that leap of faith, set yourself up with whatever safety nets you need, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Maybe it's learning a little bit more. Maybe it's setting up a plan B to fall back on. Maybe it's doing it with someone else. But whatever you need, go ahead and set that up for yourself and then go try it, because you deserve to honor what's placed on your heart. And the world, better yet, the world deserves it. It really does. We deserve you at your most aligned, lit up, brightest, most passionate self. And that's what that's the season that we're in right now. Aries season is the first sign of the zodiac. So we just ended Pisces season. That was like the 12th. That's the last sign of the zodiac. Now we're in Aries. Aries is the ram. Aries is because it's the first sign in the zodiac, we have this youthful innocence to us in the universe. You don't have to be an Aries sun sign or rising sign or moon sign. You can have Aries in your chart for sure. And maybe if you do, you align a little bit more with this. But I don't have any Aries in my chart, but we still have that energy of the universe swirling around. So Aries season is the perfect time to, Aries is a fire sign, can be a little stubborn. We can admit to that. We can be a little stubborn, but it's also bold, fiery, passionate. It's innocent. It's stepping out in faith. That's what Aries season brings. And then add that on top of this being a numerology 1 year. So numerology, we have 1 through 9. So we just finished the 9-year. 9 is all about the year of completion. It's a lot of endings. So I know everyone that I've been working with, all my clients in my women's circles, in my breathwork classes, there's been a lot of shedding happening, right? We also just ended the Chinese sign of the snake, and now we're in the year of the fire horse. There's a lot of ending and shedding that's been happening over the past few months, honestly. And now we are finally stepping into fully this 1 year, which is the time of new beginnings. It's one is a leadership year as well. We actually have an incredible tarot and numerologist expert that's coming on the podcast in a couple weeks. So you're going to learn more in depth about, like, from that aspect, numerology, and from tarot, where we are. We're in the Wheel of Fortune year, I believe, in tarot. So all of this, there's a lot of leadership, autonomy, alignment happening, stepping out in your boldness, in your most authentic expression of yourself. Just another reason to solidify that this is your time. This is your time to listen to what's on your heart. And sometimes I do hear, and sometimes I felt this way, like, I don't know what is on my heart. You do. That thing that you run away from, that you're afraid of, that thing that you think of, that the immediate next thought is like, I could never do that. That's what's on your heart. That's what's been placed on your heart for a reason. So we had a little Aries conversation, a little numerology conversation. Let's begin to wrap it up with where Journey to Well is heading. This is such a humbling experience. Honestly, I am blown away by the growth of this podcast, and let me use this time as a little plug. If you are listening to this, can you please send one of your favorite podcast episodes to your friend, your family member, somebody that needs to hear whatever healing tool that we discussed in whatever podcast you want to share with them? Can you share this podcast, please? I would love to continue to expand our reach, our growth, our community. If you have time to rate and review the podcast, that's also a really beautiful way to continue this upward trajectory. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you. So season 2 has been such a fun season. We've had so many great conversations. I have the pleasure of meeting so many incredibly knowledgeable and beautiful people, and we're growing. I am actually recording this podcast in a completely new platform, a platform that's a lot more inclusive of everything I need to do on the back end. We are going to be hiring our first team member for managing the back end of the podcast. We're going to be doing some sponsorships and really showing up a little bit deeper, a little bit more for how can we take this information and continue to implement it in our lives? What are those tools that are helping us regulate our nervous system and build deeper relationships and connections? Because that's really what it is. Everything comes down to your choices, the way that you act, the way that you move through the world, the way that you see the world, the lens in which you view the world comes down to your nervous system. And one of the biggest ways that our nervous system is affected is through the quality of our relationships. So we kind of take this two-prong approach of regulating our nervous system, taking care of ourselves, practicing that deep self-care, not just the bubble bath, but practicing deep self-care. And there's tons of tools on self-care that you can click through the podcast, and increasing the quality of our relationships. We should have a whole conversation about that. Sheesh, that would be deep. How is the quality of your relationships? Do they feed you? Do they energize you? Do they inspire you? Do they bring you peace? And if the answer is not all the time, or this person does not, that person does not, the answer is not always to walk away. Yes, that is the answer sometimes. And I am not telling you to not walk away from relationships that don't feed you, that don't serve you, that don't ground your nervous system. If you're in a very dysregulated relationship, your nervous system is very dysregulated. I've experienced that myself. That doesn't always mean that you have to walk away. Sometimes we do. Sometimes it's building the quality of that relationship. And that starts with yourself, regulating your nervous system. How are you taking care of yourself? When we have a place that we're coming from that is very regulated, that's the energy that you're putting out. And so you will attract more regulated nervous systems to co-regulate with. When you are coming from a very dysregulated nervous system, we can easily attract more dysregulated nervous systems to co-regulate with. We should have a whole conversation of this. What are your thoughts? I would love to answer some questions about nervous system regulation, quality of relationships. please send me a DM on Instagram if you don't already follow me. If you haven't already reached out, first of all, reach out and say hello. But please send me a DM. My Instagram is @_journey2well. And I would love to connect with you there because this is a really deep conversation that we just stumbled upon. Thank you so much again from the bottom of my heart for being part of this community. You are the reason that we have these conversations. Stepping into season 3, I would love to hear what you would like to learn more of. Maybe it's a follow-up conversation from one of our previous seasons, season 1 and 2. Maybe it's a more in-depth conversation with someone else in a similar field. What would you like to learn more about? What would you like to hear more about? What really sets your soul on fire and that you want to continue to explore? I would love to find these people and be that connector for you because I don't know it all. You don't know it all. And that's why we have these conversations, is to learn a little bit more, to grow deeper, to continue to extend our roots further and further into the security of this ground, this earth, this present moment, and to continue to expand our branches up, to learn, to explore, to find new ideas, to process new thinking patterns and thinking new thoughts, thinking thoughts. This has been such a fun journey so far, and we're just getting started, honestly. I will see you soon, my friend. Be well. Thank you so much for being here. Truly, your support and love is the foundation of this community and this podcast. If you find yourself in a season of life ready to explore your inner landscape deeper, or perhaps you feel like you've tried all the things and nothing has worked, here's your gentle invitation to come back home. Align and Embody is my signature coaching container that is created to explore our soma, our living wholeness. Perhaps the answers you seek truly do live within. You just need to learn the communication of your body. Align and Embody combines the 3 pillars of my business: human design, somatic breathwork, and cycle alignment. Head to the link in this description to learn more, or better yet, reach out on Instagram @_journey2well. I'd be honored to connect with you. Be well on this journey, my friend. Talk soon.